This dialogue was started as a response to the assembly of the World Council of Churches that happened in Puerto Alegre. The response was to the theme that was being dealt with, globalization, a theme that was so controversial.
There were severe arguments between the churches, specifically from the South to the European churches, because they felt that we were not committed enough, not straight to the point enough in criticizing the negative effects of globalization. And we had the feeling they put us into a corner where we didn't felt to be.
Over the past century of ecumenical movements, so much has changed. Many churches from all over the world have joined, from many different social and political backgrounds. Even when they all speak English, there seems to be a totally Babylonian confusion. So the Conference of European Churches took the initiative
to engage into a cross-continent dialogue with those who were the most critical to us Europeans, and that were the Latin Americans.
We started with the understanding that we were building trust among ourselves first. And building that trust meant that we were not only going to listen with our ears and dialogue with our mouth, but that we were going to listen with all our body and create a safe space.
But that was not easy. When the group met for the first time, they were willing to meet each other without prejudices. Rag Rolfsen from the Church of Norway explains.
For me, the most critical moment was when we arrived at our first meeting in Buenos Aires. We had all these suspicions, expecting to find hardcore Marxists on the Latin American sides, and they expecting to meet hardcore capitalists. This was somehow not resolved, but the tension lowered quite quickly, because when you meet people, you don't meet ideologies.
We find that the controversy has to deal with, first, definitions.
At the beginning, for the Latin Americans, justice was the main issue. For us, the climate challenge was the main issues. And it is not just a compromise now to combine both to climate justice, but it is a very important aim.
I think the process that we have engaged in, at least in my experience in the ecumenical movement, is quite unique, and is that regional ecumenical organizations join hands and try to address certain issues together.
This dialogue served as a cultivation of a method of dialogue, method of overcoming certain problems, certain differences, certain tensions.
As the dialogue group was meeting in Brussels, the participants were received by the European Parliament's Vice President and by European parliamentarians dealing with the relations between Europe and Latin America, the Eurolat. One member of Parliament explained how he appreciated this encounter with Bishop Murray and the other members of the group.
On both continents, the churches still play an important role in the society. And in most continents, churches understand themselves as a voice of people, and they try to give a voice to people. And sometimes it could be helpful to hear the voice of churches and civil society stronger in these procedures of making reports and legislation. You know, the crisis we have in Europe have to be overcome, and one strategy of the EU is to look for new markets to support growth, but that could not be the sense of a relation between Europe and South America, that we use South America only as a new market to recover our economy.
The moment of change, from my perspective, came when we were in Oslo. We agreed to include in our text not only what we agreed upon, but also our disagreements. And that, in a way, opened the space to be honest and to say what you think.
Well, I understand that churches are part of civil society, but do people who believe in God have to deal with all these global questions? What does all this have to do with faith?
Churches are called upon to share the good news from the Bible. And in John 10:10, Jesus presents himself and says, I have come so that you will have life and life abundant.
The basis has been laid for mutual trust between the churches in Latin America and Europe. And it's on that basis that we can now engage in concrete actions together.
Now we need to convert this into actions to address the injustices in the financial system and to be able also together to fight the enormous challenges coming from climate change.
Now we are very much focused to economical growth and to the materialistic world. And this focus should be shifted to a more human world, shifted to human relations and human values and spiritual, religious values as well.
As we move forward in the dialogue process, we would like to offer this instrument that we have been using, the dialogue instrument, as one that can be used to resolve difficult issues. And in this way, we also will be experiencing and showing concrete actions that promote life and not death.